Hello and welcome to what will be the third video in a series on an IELTS writing part 2, the 2 questions essay. So in this video we're going to look at an example answer, and we're going to use our IELTS writing checklist to see if this example answer is doing the things it needs to do to get a good mark or a good band in each section of the criteria. So the first one we're going to look at the task achievement section of the criteria. So we can see here the IELTS, official IELTS criteria for part 2. So there we go, task achievement is the first one for organization, the lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy. Okay, so to get a 9, you can see here in part 9 it says, let me zoom in on that. There we go, it says fully addresses all parts of the task. So you need to fully address all parts of the task. So that's why in our checklist, the first thing is, does the introduction introduce the general topic? Because if you don't have the general topics, then you've got really no parts of the task. Let's have a look at the example answer. So I've put there yes, is that true? Okay, waste is a very big problem nowadays. So if you don't remember, or if you haven't watched the first video in the series, please go and watch the first video in the series. The general topic is rubbish. Let's have a look at it actually. So I've got it up now. Nowadays we're producing more and more rubbish. Why do you think this is happening? What can governments do to help reduce the amount of rubbish? So the general topic is rubbish. Waste is a very big problem nowadays due to influence on environment and rapidly growing technologies. The government may introduce new laws to help decrease the amount of garbage. So they've definitely got it there. They've definitely, yes, that's true. Okay, the next one here are all details of the topic and 2 questions introduced. All details. In the criteria there, if you remember, it talks about fully addresses all parts of the task. So this is why it's important to introduce all the details. So just to refresh your memory there, the details were very important, more and more rubbish. That's one of the little details. It's we are producing, it's not businesses. And then in that, why do you think this is happening? We are producing more and more. And the other key aspect there, governments possibly can, it's not what should. And then here, reduce the amount of rubbish. Okay, not to stop producing more and more, but to reduce. That's a recap. It's in the first video in greater detail if you want to have a look. Okay, so do they introduce these aspects? The first question, do they talk about more and more rubbish being produced? Waste is a very big problem. Okay, it's a big problem nowadays due to influence on environment and rapidly growing technologies. Okay, so they've got rapidly growing here, like more and more, but that's connected with technologies. Okay, so they haven't got that detail there. The fact that nowadays we are producing more and more rubbish. So one aspect is we. Do they talk about we? Waste is a very big problem. So is it we? Is it companies? They don't introduce the idea of we, which here I think just means people. So they've got the general idea, but they're missing some of the specific details. Okay, so what are the 2 questions again? You know, why do you think this is happening? Do they introduce the idea of why is it happening? Due to, yeah, so that's a positive. Due to the influence. Waste is a very big problem due to the influence. But again, it's not we're producing more and more waste. Waste is a big problem due to these factors, but not we are producing more and more waste due to these factors. So they have introduced the idea of the reasons, but unfortunately the reasons are for something that's a little bit different. It's similar, but a little bit different. Okay, what can governments do to help reduce this? Let's have a look. The government may introduce, so that's good, they've got the government, that's a plus. New laws to help decrease the amount of garbage. Okay, so they've done a fairly good job with the second one there. So no for the first question, and then yes for the second question. Okay, you could see there the problem they have is that they're overgeneralizing. Okay, not to a big extent, you know, waste is a problem instead of more and more waste, but it is overgeneralizing a little bit. Okay, does the writer give a position to both questions? Okay, so in the 2 questions essay, it might ask for your opinion, and if it asks for your opinion, you have to give your opinion. In this case, it doesn't ask for your opinion. Does it state the purpose of the essay? This is more what they're looking for. The government may introduce. So I think they to make this a little bit better, they should have one more sentence there. You know, this essay will discuss the reasons and specific actions the government can take. So something like that. You've got the government may introduce new laws. There's already specific. We'll discuss the reasons and discuss the reasons and outline. There we go. Discuss the reasons and outline specific actions the government can take. Okay, maybe because, you know, for this problem, something like that. Okay, so that would make it a little bit more of an IELTS type essay, because they've got the purpose. Again, if it asks for your opinion, this one doesn't. Then in this introduction, you'll have your opinion. Okay, as it is, it's okay. But it is quite short, so there's no problem adding that sentence. So, no, but you know, it's not bad as it is. It's not bad. Okay, the body paragraph now. So number 4 here. Does each paragraph have a topic sentence that gives the central topic of the paragraph? First body paragraph. Is there a topic sentence? To begin with technology, we should be glad that there are more and more discoveries. So that's good. We'll give that a little tick. To begin with technology. So are they talking about technology and the rest? Old phone, coffee cups, plastic bags. Okay, yeah, that's connected with production technologies. So the answer to that is yes. We've got a topic sentence that gives a central topic of the paragraph. Next one's really important for task achievement. Is the topic sentence connected with the parts of the question to be answered? So let's have a look at the part of the question. So the part of the question we're looking at here is, why do you think this is happening? Okay, why do you think this is happening? So it's giving reasons. This is what we need to be doing. Here it says, to begin with technology, we should be glad. So that's not really connected to the topic. We should be glad. It's giving advice about how we should feel, that there are more and more discoveries. So that's answering a different question. That question would be, is technology good or bad? And then it's good. We should be bad. So unfortunately, no. Let's come back to that checklist and put no. And the problem is here, it's overgeneralizing. It's talking about how we should feel, but that's not actually part of the question. The question is about what are the reasons. So let's make that better. Let's take this and go zip. Okay, I might not have that one. Okay. This one here. To begin with technology, the main reason why it contributes to ever increasing production of waste is that. Okay, so if we have this one here, to begin with technology, the main reason why it contributes, the main reason why it contributes to ever increasing production of waste is that. Okay, so then we've got, why is this happening? The reasons. We are producing, it's got production, more and more, ever increasing. Okay, so now that topic sentence does match the specific question. So this is very typical. People can have the general idea there, but they overgeneralize. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Our main idea is supported with reasons or examples, so that's important. And also 6 and 7 go together. Are the supporting ideas, reason, example connected with the exam task? Okay, so 2 things. Are the ideas supported, and are they connected with the task? So the first idea was we should be glad that there are more and more discoveries. So even if the person supports it, it's not that good because it's not connected to the task. Okay, so again, in this part I'm not going to look at mistakes. We'll come back to that later. We're looking at mistakes connected with how they answer the question. Inevitably it brings up a problem. Okay, that's okay. So they've come back to the problem that in a short period of time most technologies become outdated. Okay, for example, Okay, so for example, that's good. Let's underline that. They're giving an example. Technology becomes outdated. But again, is this the specific question? Maybe they're working towards it, but it's best, boom, to address it straight away. Every year, new iPhone or Samsung are released with additional function and better hard drive. As a result, nobody wants to have old phone when they may buy a new one every year. In addition. Okay, that's a big word there, in addition, because that means that we're going on to the next point. So that finishes the first point. So I'll just do that in blue. The first point is, I think, where that problem is. Boom, there we go. So that section there, whoops, there we go. That section there is the first point. So number one, it takes a lot of the paragraph. Too much time, space. Number two, it's about technologies become outdated. So that's another different question. Let's write that exam question, why not? You know, why do people replace phones so often? So if we change, if that's the question, why do people replace phones so often? Then this is great. Yeah, sure, they become outdated. That's the reason why. Okay, but unfortunately, our question is actually this one here. Why is this happening? So, yes, indirectly we can see that, okay, because of advances in technology, we tend to throw out things very quickly, and that produces more waste. But you need to write that the main reason why it contributes to ever increasing production of waste is that we need to throw things like phones out more and more often. We need to throw things out like phones out more and more often. Okay, and then you can go on to say the reason for this is new phones with additional functionality and hard drives come out. Okay, so this then, we need to throw things out. So again, we need to throw things out. If we look at the language of the question, you know, why do you think this is happening? Why are we producing more things? And the answer is we are throwing things out. Okay, so you can see the person has the general idea, but they're definitely overgeneralizing. So let's come back to the criteria, and we can say it's not irrelevant, which is good. So this one here, they're supported, but unfortunately they're overgeneralizing. Overgeneralizing again. Okay. And the last one here, if solutions are asked for, is it clear how solutions will be done? So it does ask for solutions from the government, but let's have a look at the end of that paragraph. In addition, a lot of products that are not reusable still flood the market, something like coffee cups or plastic bags. Yeah, so that's good. In addition, but again, just sticking to the actual topic, well, not clearly highlighting the topic, yeah? The second reason is that. Yeah, so then we've clearly got the main reason up the top, and then the second reason down here. We might want to paraphrase the second influential factor. There we go. The second influential factor is that. Okay, but you definitely want to balance those two more, because this is not balanced, unfortunately. Yeah. But good, there's still an example there. So that second point was quite good. It was a little bit closer, but again, there's no mention anywhere of producing more rubbish. There's no mention of that. It's just a lot safer to talk about this. Okay. So, well, I mean, what does that mean? Let's have a look at the criteria. So looking here at task achievement, we haven't got those relevant position. So a couple of key factors here. This is a 6 here. Addresses all parts of the task, although some parts may be more fully covered than others. So some parts have more to them than other parts. So I think that's a good point here. If we have a look at that paragraph, this one has been more covered than this one here. So that's why it's a good idea to keep it even. Then another factor here is the conclusions may become unclear. And I think that's the case here. I think the conclusion is, and down here of the 5, there may be no conclusions drawn. So that doesn't just mean at the end, it means in your essay as well. So when you say something like what I wrote there, the main reason why it contributes to ever increasing production of waste is that's your immediate position. It's all very clear. Whereas if it's not clear, you're going to get a 5 or a 6. Okay, let's have a look at the second paragraph. Okay, we've got the second paragraph here. So again, the first one there does each have a topic sentence. As for ways government can approach the problem. So yep, it's got a topic sentence. And the good news is, if we look at the question again, what can governments do to help reduce the amount of rubbish? Okay, so it doesn't have the idea can approach the problem. It doesn't have the idea of reducing the amount. And unfortunately, the problem here, the problem of what? Technology is becoming outdated? The person didn't mention more rubbish at all. But the good news is that it is in the introduction, and the examiner does know the question. Okay, but again, you can specify it. If you didn't write about it before, approach the problem of larger and larger quantities of waste. So you could do something like that. Approach the problem of larger and larger quantities of waste. Okay, but that's okay. They may introduce laws that make... Okay, so we'll come back to that. Okay, hence conclusion. The production of non-reusable things very expensive. For example, some kind of taxes or bans. This will definitely decrease the amount of rubbish. So boom, there we go. That's wonderful. This will definitely decrease the amount of rubbish. All right. Connected with the specific question. As far as I am concerned, we'll look at mistakes later. Government can introduce something rules about non-organic waste, so it will be expensive for individuals as a whole to buy non-reusable things. So this is good. Again, the government can. Very, very clearly connected to this. Okay, so we pop in here. So number 1, you had overgeneralizing, but number 2 was definitely on the mark. Okay, and this one again, yes. Okay, so you see they're giving main ideas. They're generally related or specifically related. So that second paragraph is a lot closer to a 7. Possibly even an 8. Because it's fairly clear how those solutions are connected to the problems. The second solution, non-organic waste, it will be expensive for individuals to buy non-reusable things. So non-reusable things. The problem was people were using non-reusable things there. And so they've come back and they've addressed that problem. And the first one was that make the production of non-reusable. Okay, they've come back to that again. Okay, so it hasn't been clearly technology in that one there. And this is the point in the checklist. Here, this last point down here, if solutions are asked for, is it clear how the solutions will be done? How they will help solve the problem? And I should say, solve each problem presented. Okay, so is it clear how laws that make the production of non-reusable things very expensive, taxes or bans, how will that solve the problem of in a short period of time, technologies become outdated? So that's not 100% clear, unfortunately, but I can kind of guess. What's going on. So it's not too bad. We're looking at about a 7 for that one. Okay, so they're the 2 body paragraphs. And we come down, does the conclusion re-summarize the essay's position, cover all aspects of the exam task? In conclusion, the production of more rubbish is due to technology development and lack of reusable things. So again, you need to summarize in order to, in order to change left, in order to order to tackle the issue, the government can and should implement the ideas proposed above. Okay. So that last sentence there means that they've summarized everything. But generally speaking, what are we looking at? Addresses, this is for 5, the task only partially. No, they address it. They address all parts of the task more fully covered. Yeah, conclusions may be unclear. Yeah, I think inadequately developed, perhaps. Inadequately linked. They needed to be linked a bit better in that first body paragraph. An examiner could give the person a 7 here. Maybe a tendency to overgeneralize, and or supporting ideas may lack focus. So definitely they could get a 7 or a 6 there. So let's check it in there. Final mark would be a strong 6, weak 7. Yep. And as always, connect more directly with the specific parts of the question or statement. Okay, so let's move on to coherence and cohesion. Okay, we can answer this one. Sorry, some of it's here. We can answer one. Is there a clear body introduction paragraph? Yes. Does each body have a topic sentence? Yes, but it could be better. So we looked at that. When I put in there, for example, was it on this one? Yeah, like specifically the problem of larger and larger. Mentioning the problem again, coming back to this one here. The main reason why it contributes, the second influential factor. That makes the structure a lot clearer there. So, are ideas logically organized throughout the essay? Yes. Could be better. The answer to that is yes. Are they skillfully organized? The answer to that is no. Okay. And a big one here, coming back to this one here, task achievement. If solutions, is it clear how the solution will be done to help solve each problem presented? So a good one here is to when you're writing about the solutions, to refer back to the specific problem. Okay, as for ways the government can approach the problem of larger and larger quantities of waste, they may introduce laws that make the production of non-usable things very expensive. For example, some kind of tax and bans. This will definitely decrease the amount of rubbish. And then you can put here caused or produced due to the technological advances previously mentioned. Now, this point doesn't connect a lot with technological advances, but the idea of this, I can't rewrite the essay. It will take too long. Okay, I just want to highlight produced due to the technological advances previously mentioned. So that's the key here. That previously mentioned, it refers back, and that's skillful organization. Government, and then the next one can introduce, after all, non-organic, so it will be expensive and is held by non-users. And then here you could write thereby, comma, so it should be a comma there, comma, thereby overcoming the aforementioned problem of non-reusables. the aforementioned problem of. So you can see there are two structures that you can use due to the blah 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 problem previously mentioned, or due to the aforementioned problem of whatever. Okay, and that will help increase the complexity of how you connect your ideas. But they do have a range of linking devices. As for ways, so that's a good one for coherence and cohesion. As for ways, that's quite nice. As far as I'm concerned, the government can introduce, okay, that's okay. To begin with, it brings up, for example, as a result, so it definitely flows quite well. I think we could probably give that a 7. If we come to coherence and cohesion, for the 7 here, logically organizes information, yes. Clear progression throughout, yes. Uses a range of cohesive devices, yes. Presents a clear central topic, yeah. Unfortunately, if we come up, yeah. Manages all aspects of cohesion well. No, perhaps not the division of the paragraph into key points. If we looked at that first body paragraph there, if we had there the main reason why it contributes, the second influential factor, that divides it better into two individual points. So that could have been improved. But yeah, I think there we can come down. Yes, uses a range. No, doesn't make mistakes. Refer back to points in the main. So that, if necessary, does the writer in main body paragraph refer back to points? So unfortunately, no. That always helps. It's not always necessary. If it's a solution to a problem, it's necessary. It's not always necessary. So, you know, final mark is like a 7. The key idea to improve would be better signaling of overall paragraph structure. Okay, we saw that with the main reason, the second reason, and that's better for answering the question too, and then referring back when giving solutions. Okay, let's rock on to grammar, range, and accuracy. Okay, we will look at the checklist a little bit later, but the key ideas to keep in your head for grammar is what range do they use, what mistakes do they use. Okay, so you look for mistakes, you look for a range of structures. We'll start with the introduction, and we'll look for, first of all, we'll be positive, we'll start for a range, put it in green. Waste, due to influence on. So due to influence on environment, that's nice. Rapidly growing technologies, obviously that's collocation, but it's also good use of adverb and adjective to describe a noun. The government may, yep, so in the question it was can, so use of modal verbs. Introduce new laws to, so that's a, what's it called, a verb combination. And then the amount of, so there's definitely a range there. Let's have a look for mistakes. Waste is very big problem. Okay, is a very big problem. Nowadays, due to influence on, well, the influence or its influence, the government may introduce new laws to help decrease the amount. So a couple of little mistakes there. Now let's go to the criteria and have a look. So far, yes, they're using a range. At times, it looks to be at times. Because how many did we have there? 2. Let's do at times, maybe occasionally, maybe. Okay, are any of the mistakes noticeable? So far, not really. Are the mistakes with simple or complex? Well, I mean, they're article mistakes. Do they interview with understanding? No. Okay. So far, so good. I think if the person wants to get a 7, it's still possible. They have to keep using range. They have to keep the accuracy there. To begin with, we should be glad that there are more and more discoveries. Okay. So that's the nice structure. There are more and more. To begin with, we should be glad. So good use of another modal. Inevitably, it brings up a problem that. Okay, that's a relative clause. In a short period, most technologies, good, most technologies become and outdated. So very accurate. There's a bit of a range. For example, in phone sphere, we'll come back to the mistakes. Every year are released. That's the passive. And then a comma and then a with structure. So that's quite well done. Nobody, good use of nobody wants, no W negative. When, complex sentence. They may, okay, I mean that was used before, but that's fine. But you want it every year. In addition, a lot of products that are not reusable still flood that. And good, they've used still, but they know it's present simple. Okay, so there's a range there. Definitely a range there. What about mistakes? I think I saw one. In a short period, most acknowledged, for example. Well, Samsung should have a capital letter. Every year, new iPhone. As a result, nobody wants to have an old phone, and they may buy a new one. In addition, a lot of products that are not reusable still flood the market, something like coffee cups. Okay, so it's the same really. They've got a range and they've got at times mistakes, minor mistakes with articles. So quite good so far. I suppose government, so I'll go for mistakes. As the government can approach the problem, they may introduce, okay, maybe you could mix it up a little bit. They may introduce, they may possibly, maybe put in an adverb. They may possibly, they may well, to make the production of none of the things vary. Okay, for example, some kind of taxes on bans. Okay, it's not clear what they've done. Is that a new sentence or not? That's a capital, and there seems to be a full stop. Okay, so that's a simple sentence. It's not too bad, but if you've got a very short sentence, try and join it to the previous one. Okay, as far as I am, so that's a more noticeable mistake. I am. They forgot the verb to be. Okay, the government can introduce stricter rules about so it will be expensive. Good, a use of so. Okay, what the government can introduce. You could change that to make it a bit more complex. Something like here, which would lead to them becoming more expensive. Okay. So just down where you've got the so, you could have the comma, which would lead to them becoming more expensive. Perhaps it's probably safer to use the gerund, the possessive with the gerund. They're becoming more expensive. Okay, and that would be more complex. Okay, for individuals as a whole by non-reusable things. Okay, yeah, but again, there's that range there. It's not a wide range of complex structures, but it's certainly it's getting up towards a 7. Due to, I mean, maybe change that due to. As a result of, that comes about clearance and cohesion. Okay, so overall, let's have a look at the criteria. Oops. There's grammar. Vocabulary. Okay, uses a variety of complex structures. Yep, produces frequent error-free sentences. Probably not. Has good control of grammar and punctuation, but may make a few errors. So, that's for a 7. You know, is it frequent error-free sentences? The problem is these little article mistakes everywhere. If you have a look about every sentence has an article mistake. So I think it depends on the examiner. The examiner might say, well, it's just the one mistake of articles. They're not making tense mistakes or singular plural mistakes. So why should they be punished so much for one mistake? In which case the examiner might give them a 7. But more likely than not, make some errors in grammar and punctuation, but they rarely reduce communication. More likely they're going to get a 6 there. Okay, so if we come through, again, do makes no, so that was all cool. Other than not really, that one there, just with articles. So the final mark there would be either a strong 6 or weak 7. And the key, like, clear up the articles. Get those articles correct, and you know you're going to be much better position to get a 7. And then throw in some more complex structures. Okay, and then let's move on to the last one here. Lexical resource. So lexical resource is similar to grammar, range, and accuracy. We're looking for two things. We're looking for range and mistakes. So let's get hold of that again. Okay, so waste is a very big problem. So straight away, there's nothing wrong with very big problem, but problem language pops up all the time in the IELTS. Yeah, is a pressing issue. So what you need to do is you need to get onto the search engine and put in problem and then with collocations. I'll just try and get it down there. Well, where are we again? Yeah, there we go. Problem collocations. Chuck that into a search engine, press enter. The first thing you see should be the Oxford Dictionary, which is a wonderful collocation dictionary. Click on that. Okay, and look at all these adjectives here. Acute, big, enormous, grave. So acute's a wonderful one. Complex is wonderful. Pressing is the one I used. Yep. Go there. Find. Pose is another nice word. Yep. Arise. Make a note of problem language and get used to using it. Use that problem language. Yeah. Waste is a very pressing issue. And then grammar faced by many around the world. Okay, so again, if you write something like this, a pressing issue faced by many around the world nowadays, you've got both lexical resource and the grammar. Okay, influence the environment. Whoops, it should be red. So when it's a verb, no preposition. Oh, I missed that one before. Influence the environment. Okay. The government may introduce new laws. Okay. Introduce is fine, but a nice one with the government. The government may draw up new laws. Nothing wrong with laws. Sorry, I missed that one. Draw. New laws. New, and then legislation. It's less common. To help decrease. So what can be less common than decrease? To help cut the amount of garbage. Okay, so as it was, rapidly growing is quite nice. Waste, the paraphrase is pretty good. Introduce new laws is okay. Decrease the amount of, that's okay. But I've added a lot less common stuff. Because the key idea of the lexical resource is use of less common and idiomatic expressions. So, not much from the writer there, but, quite a bit from me. I'd say a lot in that short period from me. Why is this so important? That if we come up to an 8 for lexical resource, skillfully uses uncommon lexical items. Okay, so the two things you want to do, you want to be precise and you want to skillfully use uncommon, less common items. Okay, so it's the same for the rest of the essay. We should be glad, that's quite nice. Glad is a little bit less common. It's nice. More and more discoveries, it's a nice word. Inevitably, that's nice. It brings up a problem. In a short time period, most technologies become outdated. Yeah, so there's some nice language here, that's for sure. For example, in this, did I miss that article mistake as well? In the phone sphere. Students are released. So released is a nice word with additional, functionality. So that's a mistake and better hard drive. Nobody wants to have. Okay, so instead of to have, you could probably say no one wants to. Yeah, okay, have. When they may buy. So instead of buy, what's less common than buy? Purchase or acquire. Less common than buy there. New one every year. Okay, a lot of, that's always a good one. Rather than a lot of, you could put something like a significant, is that printing? Okay, that's paused. Significant amount of Okay, so instead of a lot of, you could have a significant amount of. Still flood the market. Wow, that's nice. Flood the market. It's less common, number one, and it's very specific in its meaning. So that's beautiful. Okay, so we can see there's a bit more there. I think that one's pushing up to a 7 by itself without my additions. Yep. Okay, approach the problem. That's okay. Again, we've got introduce. Yeah, so rather than introduce, you could have implement laws. Make things very expensive. So there's nothing wrong with very expensive, but a nice one-word adjective. It's so expensive you don't want to do it or buy it. Is prohibitive. Make the production prohibitive. The cost of production. Some kind of taxes or bans. This will definitely. Now, how are we going there with the spelling of definitely? Not so nice. So, yeah, definitely. So there look to be. There's no I here. Definitely, and there's another spelling mistake there. 2 mistakes in one word. You must learn to spell this word. Okay, decrease, cut down on. The government can introduce stricter rules. That's nice. Less common than stricter is harsher for rules. So it would be expensive. Again, expensive, learn some synonyms for expensive. Harsher, so it will be, it'll hit the consumer's pocket. Let me make that bigger. Hit the consumer's pocket as a whole when they buy. Okay. So things connected, more vocab connected with problems, the government, cost. Generally useful for a lot of topics. Even if it's not in the writing, in the speaking you'll be able to use it. Yeah? Yeah, and lack of. Okay. So looking at the checklist there. Yes, they paraphrase. That was well done. Okay, does the writer show precise meaning? Well, that flood was a very good example. And they did have very expensive instead of expensive. So it's not less common, but it's precise. So there was definitely some. We can leave that as some. How often does they make? Sometimes. I'd say occasionally. Maybe it was a rarely, actually. Just the one spelling mistake. But unfortunately, are they noticeable? Bang. That's the problem. If you make like a little spelling mistake in a difficult word, that's okay. But you make 2 mistakes in one word, definitely. That's not good. Okay, unfortunately, that's going to have a big effect. How often do they make collocation? So that's rarely. So that's pretty good, actually. If you go back through, there's not a lot of red there. Functionality. That one was an article I missed before. Influence on. So high level of accuracy. That was good. In terms of the accuracy, it's there. Rarely do they? No. No causing of difficulty whatsoever. So we can see it's going to get a fairly strong mark. The examiner might, we have to go down. This is a 7 here. Uses a sufficient range of vocabulary to allow some flexibility. Yep, and precision. There was some. Uses less common. To get a 7, you probably want a little bit more. Certainly awareness of style and collocation. Occasional errors. So the examiner's going to give them a strong 6. Let's have a look. Final mark. Let's have a look there. Final mark. It's going to be something like strong 6, like a very strong 6, I think. A very strong 6 or a weak 7. A weakish 7. Okay? But, more or less common. Particularly with things like a lot of, you've got to start using, a significant amount of, because that, you can replace that anywhere. Amount of. And maybe just a note there, think about problem vocab. Problem, any stuff with the government can draw up legislation stipulating the use of garbage and costs. Okay, so those 3 topic areas would have come in handy in this essay. Okay, so just to recap, overall we've got probably a 7 for vocab, Probably a 6 for grammar. Okay, probably a 7 for coherence, cohesion. Probably a 6. So probably a 6.5 overall for that one. A generous examiner might give it a 7. A harsh examiner might give it a 6. But I think generally that'll get a 6.5.